Hey you guys, how's it going? What's up? Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that people actually showed up for this crap. Can you, Kevin?
No.
I know. You came to see a guy who's wearing shorts 365 days out of the year.
You didn't need to check.
But actually, you did wear a suit the other day. So
I lost a bet.
But you lost a bet, yeah.
Yeah.
I will commend you on that. So as you guys probably know, my name's Megan Holiday. This is Kevin Ryder of Kevin and Bean Morning Show. Fucking legend.
Take it easy.
And I just want to say it means so much to me that you guys came out and showed up for me today. I started this podcast a while ago, just with hopes of kind of trying to let people know that we all take our little baby steps to get to where we are. It's not like you just go from here to being a fucking rock star or something like that, or being on the radio. It's all of these little baby steps and all these people that you meet along the way, which is how you get to where you are. So I just really wanted to start this thing to give people hope. I also really quickly want to shout out Sherry Cola, my first guest on the podcast. Ryan Seaman is here, guest number 3. Also, my dad and my brother are here. I also got to thank my sound guy, Chris. Thank you so much for showing up and being here. Yeah. So okay, that's all the business that we have in order. Kevin,
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, good night. Nice knowing you. Thank you so much for coming out to do this.
Of course.
So rad. I realized with working with you that I literally don't know anything about you. I don't even know. Yeah, you're welcome. I don't even know where you were born.
I was born in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Zony, huh? Mm-hmm. So how's your driving?
Great. I'd like to think it's fantastic. I still have a mom and brothers there and their families and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, so I go back all the time.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. How many brothers do you have?
2, one older, one younger.
Oh, you're in the middle. You're like me. That's why we are.
They both have dark hair and dark eyes and working computers. I don't know what happened.
So you were adopted?
I've asked my mom that question many times. She says no.
She still says no. Okay, she's going to go. Yeah.
It's odd. It's weird because they're both very, very shy and they're funny, I think, but they don't say things out loud because they're just shy.
Yeah. Just a different brained mutant over here.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So growing up in Phoenix, was radio something that you noticed at an early age? Do you remember listening to it in your parents' car, or it being on, or it being around?
I mean, it wasn't technically an early age. It was my freshman year of college.
Okay.
And I was just making money by mowing lawns and stuff in Phoenix, and so I was listening to headphones, and I was like, wow, those guys seem like they're having a lot of fun. I should do that. And then I went back to college, and they had a broadcasting department, and I started majoring in it, and then everybody there said, no, you don't need to major in it, just minor in it. So I majored in English. I know that's hard to believe, but I majored in English. And I graduated with a degree in English, which is not possible.
It's always interesting, though. So many people who do radio did not study it. Yeah.
I didn't at all, except for to say, hey, that seems fun. Mm-hmm. I should do that. And then sort of worked my way in and ended up meeting Bean and ended up here and learned on the job.
You're rushing over this thing. You're rushing into it. So it was freshman year in college.
Yes.
You're like, oh, hey, this is an actual thing that I can do that you're interested in. What was it about radio that kind of gripped you, or just the thought of doing it?
I don't know. It was both the music, which I love, and it just seemed like so much fun. They just get to talk to everybody, and it really is. It's an amazing roller coaster of stuff that happens all the time, and I just love that part of it.
Yeah. It's exciting. You never know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us how you got into your first ever radio gig.
Well, first of all, in college, I worked at the college radio station, and my first shift was a Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
It's always fun. I did that one.
Right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Everyone's asleep. No one's listening at all.
Yep.
And this is back in the days when we had actual records. Look it up. And I was so nervous, and I started the record. I was like, okay, I need to go to the restroom. And I walked out, and the door closed behind me, locked.
Yes.
So then I came back from the restroom. I was like, okay, so the record is hitting the edge, and I don't have any way of getting in. So what do? I ended up calling the head of the department at like 6:15 in the morning on Sunday.
Oh, God.
And he came down and let me in. So that's how I got to where I am now. And then a bunch of the people that at the college worked at the local radio station. And literally one guy was on the phone with his boss, and his boss said, "Oh, so-and-so just quit. Can you come in?" And I was like, "I'll do it." That's how and
Yes.
they were like, "Okay, can you do it?" And I was like, "Sure." Could I? No, but
Well, I find that so many people who work in radio, it's really just if you're around and you kind of know how to do the job,
Yes.
they'll hire you.
Yes.
I didn't even really know how. Yeah, no, they really
It's
will.
very true.
Like if you're just around and available and you can speak English, they'll. Well, kind of. Like they'll kind of bring you in, because
Yeah.
I was just hanging around the station, as a sidekick, and then I heard, they were gonna let someone go, and I made an air check while I was drunk, which that was
Nice.
really fun.
can we hear that?
Hopefully one day, yeah. And and then I got hired, and I was like, I got to learn how to run the board. I didn't even know, my first shift, I didn't know how to run the board.
Yeah.
First shift, I said, "Fuck" on the radio, hit the dump button 5 times. I don't think it aired.
Why 5?
Because I didn't know.
Just to be safe.
So there was like a whole chunk of, some 41 song or something, just gone. But so yeah, we all have our moments
Our
of
great starts?
Yeah, our great starts where but I think it's also just being willing to say, "Hey, I'll do it."
Yeah.
Just signing up, just being
a bunch
willing
of
to
times.
fail. Yeah.
And then eventually they give you the job to shut you up. All right. If that works, I'll take it. Fine.
So where did things sort of stem from there as far as if you can kind of just take us through how you landed onto Kevin and Bean and how you met Bean and all of that?
Okay, came back to Phoenix. No one would hire me. So I went to what I thought was the worst radio station. They had the worst DJs. And I was like, seriously, anyone could do this. And they wouldn't even listen to my tape. And it was super frustrating. And I hated it. And I got a job an hour and a half away. And I was just like, well, it's a job. I'll just do it, see what happens. And met people and ended up getting hired to be a van driver at a big station at the time in Phoenix, KZZP. And that's where I ended up meeting Bean. But I was a van driver, and I would pull over people that had stickers and give them money. And
Oh, nice.
I don't know. I loved having it, and it was fun.
Yeah. I think starting in promotions is really important. I started in promotions at 91X and, just putting up the posters everywhere, handing out stickers, out there on the street with the people.
Yep.
And it just gives you a good sense of who your audience is and what they're about.
And sometimes that's good.
Yeah. And sometimes it's weird when your stalkers show up to your events.
Sure, there's
you
that.
know? Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is that. So anyway, I'm working there as a van driver, and then I move up part-time on the air, and then overnights, and then 6 to 10 p.m. And in the meantime, Bean came to that radio station, and he was doing afternoons, and he was the music director. And we did this show, and I know this is going to be hard to believe, knowing Bean. We did a show called the Saturday Night Party Patrol. So we would get in the station van, because Phoenix is completely flat. We would get in the station van and drive to people's houses. They would call in and say, "Hey, we're having a party." And we would drive to their house, and Bean was Mr. Social, which is so bizarre. And that's sort of when we learned that we could make each other laugh. And he started liking it less and less, and I started liking it more and more. So then I sort of took over, and he ended up going to San Francisco, but we became friends, and we decided, let's put together a tape. Our radio station in Phoenix, KZZP, was looking for a morning show. I was like, I work here. This is awesome. They wouldn't give us an overnight shift.
Wow.
They said, go to our station in Tucson. And Saturday at 6 a.m. or something. So Bean and I went down there, and we did it. And the first thing that we found was a memo basically disavowing any knowledge of us. I don't even...
Oh, my God.
Why?
I have no idea who these
They
lunatics
said,
are.
if anyone asks, tell them you don't know. I was like, we haven't even done anything bad yet. Seemed like they were hedging their bets a bit. So we put together the tape, and they wouldn't listen to it. And so that was frustrating. And then Bean went to San Francisco, and he worked there for a while. And then San Francisco wouldn't listen to tape, but they let us do an overnight Sunday night shift. And the only thing that I remember about that is thinking to myself, I'm the least professional person on the planet because my only memory of that overnight shift was laying on the ground, laughing, and not being able to stop, like hysterically, and going, what are you doing? This is... the mics were on, and I couldn't do anything about it, and Bean was laughing, and he couldn't do anything about it, and it was just a disaster.
But I think in a lot of ways, the audience like appreciates moments like that.
I hope. I don't know. I just remember the time thinking in my head, you need to stand up and be a professional here. What's happening?
Right.
You're laying on the floor.
So around how old were you at that time?
Probably 40.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'm all right. Like 23?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so you were really young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't have any idea what I was doing, really. Like, I was playing music, and I would talk in between, but for the most part, I didn't know how to do a morning show at all. So we put together a tape. Neither station would listen to it. We found out through a friend of a friend that KROQ was looking for a morning show. And this is a station, mind you, that Bean would fly out to Los Angeles on vacation and record because he loved it so much. So they were like, hey, they're looking for a morning show. And we were like, dude, we just put together a tape. We hope to make it in Tucson someday. You know what I mean? And they were like, well, they want somebody that doesn't have a lot of bad habits. Okay, well, we don't have any habits, but all right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we kept calling them to make sure. I would ask Bean, did you tell them that we haven't done this before? Because it was way too big of an opportunity for where we were. And we told them that we'd never done it before, and they sort of liked that. And Andy Schoen was the program director at the time, and he flew us out, bought us dinner. He didn't buy us dinner. We bought ourselves dinner. He said he forgot his wallet, so Bean paid. And he said, do you want to do it? And we were like, well, yes, but I couldn't get my head around the fact that this radio station, which I consider one of the best in the country, in the world, would be so bad as to make that decision. But I wasn't going to say no.
Right.
So the first day we showed up and literally just said, we picked up a newspaper, look it up, picked up a newspaper in the morning, and it was like a half hour beforehand, and we just said, okay, what do we do? And we were terrified. And we just sort of made our way through it, and this is before social media, thank God, because people had to sit down and handwrite letters to tell us how bad we were, and give them to the Pony Express, and then they would, and it would say, you're ruining our favorite station. And that was the first time where it was like, oh my God, this criticism is, I'm either going to die or I'm going to have to get thick skin because I worship this radio station, and these people are telling me that I'm ruining it. That was so brutal, and I felt so bad. I felt terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm really sorry. They gave me the job. I didn't mean to ruin it. And I mean, honestly, probably 3 to 4 straight years of just negative response. And you just sort of learn, okay, you're right. No one teaches you how to deal with that. So you just go, well, I'm just going to have to learn to not be upset by that. It's upsetting, but do your best to just let it go. And eventually, after about 5 to 6 years, it all started evening out. But I think if social media was around in 1990 when we started, I think we're probably dead by this point.
Oh, for sure. Well, and I think that the people who enjoy good radio, they're not sending in letters to say, oh, we love the show necessarily.
No, of course not.
Like a lot of people are out there enjoying things and they just don't say.
Yes,
you know?
but our first 2 or 3 years, I honestly don't think so. I mean, I honestly.
But I think it's so good that they allowed you to the time, because nowadays with morning shows, they want you to like this. They want you to, I did a morning show for a very short stint, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And, the ratings were awful, but they want you to have good ratings immediately, and they don't really give you the room for growth, and they don't really give you any, producers or any, they don't really set you up to succeed. You
They
have to
say we don't want you to have bad habits, but
Yeah.
we were like, well, we don't have any good habits either, isn't?
But
isn't that part of it?
Right? But they wanted to be able to like mold you, I guess.
Yes.
You know?
They said, we want you to grow up to sort of represent KROQ and not come from a different station with all of these different things that you already do. Which is, the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. So after about 5 or 6 years, you and Bean really start to get into a good groove and you start to feel comfortable.
I just want to say this too. If Bean and I were exactly like we are today, if we were to start on the radio today, it would be a disaster and people would hate it and they would take us off because they don't give you any time. So it was really important those first 3, 4, 5 years that they literally they never made us look at the ratings. They just said, keep going. And I was like, all right, well, doesn't seem to be helping. When we took over KROQ, we had a 2.2 rating, and then the first year we had a 2.2, and the second year we went from a 2.2 to a 2.2, and then the third year, the president of the company, Mel Carmazon, who I was scared to death of, who worked for Infinity at the time, stopped me in the hallway and he said, hey, think the ratings are going to go up ever? And I was so scared of him. I was just like, yeah, I hope so. I don't know. It took 4 to 5 years to sort of get any progress. And you're right. There's nothing like that today anymore.
No, there's really not. And I think one of the greatest things about KROQ is how loyal they are to the people who work there. I've never seen a radio station be as loyal to the people who work there like KROQ is. And, so
that could work against you at times.
Yeah. But, it's like it's sort of in the same way with like artist development these days in music. It's like the labels just want you to be ready to go, polished, like, no. It's
not possible.
No, it's not possible. And sometimes like you have like a diamond that just needs a little bit of shining,
Or a lot of shining.
Yeah. But it took, I know for me too, it was like just working those early mornings, Saturdays and Sundays. If I wasn't able to do that, like knowing that barely anybody was listening, but just doing the best that I could, and then one day, like my PD up north, like tuning in, and then being like, oh, we can throw her in at night, like she's ready. But they allowed me to like work out my kinks,
right? So
that I would be ready.
Talk about those for a second, your kinks.
I have a lot of them. There's
with your dad right here. I'd like to start with. No, I'm just kidding.
So you and Bean start to get into a good groove, and then talk about kind of assembling the team, like the morning show.
Here's the weird thing: is everybody from the beginning has assumed that we have a plan and that we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And like you just don't. You're just guessing, and sometimes you guess wrong, sometimes you guess right. And so when some of the early people that would help us, like Lightning, who was our producer for a lot of the 90s, and Jimmy Kimmel did sports for us for 5 years or something like that. And let me tell you the Jimmy Kimmel story. So we met with him, we liked him, everything, and we were like, all right, well, this sounds cool. Didn't know anything about it. And then we came in one day, and our program director said, Jimmy Kimmel's in there, he's working for you now.
All right.
Okay, great. It was odd that they didn't ask us, but... We went with it, and Jimmy was talented enough to do his own thing and move. You see where he is today. It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
And Adam Carolla and Ralph Garman and Lisa May, all these people who helped us along the way, they were carrying us, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and as far as, whatever changes have happened, what people need to understand is that just so much is outside of our control, Yeah,
I'll tell you, it is a weird situation to be in where everyone seems to be commenting and you're told that you can't. Mm-hmm. Even, you can't defend yourself, you can't say, it's not even like, you can't talk about it, exactly. Sometimes legally. And so it's like, all right, well, this sucks because now we're taking a beating and we can't speak up for ourselves. And that takes a lot of getting used to, too.
Yeah, for sure. You've just been through so many things,
yes.
Over his last 30 years. And I have to say, Christine, she's here today, one of your amazing producers.
Yes.
Christine and Dave. So I got to fill in one time with you, and it was honestly, it made my life.
Wow.
It really did. It really did, though.
Somebody needs a better life.
Shut up. But
I'm just kidding. I was happy to have you.
It was one of the
fun.
coolest experiences that I've ever had, and just how dialed in everything is. Like, it's like just. It's incredible. I had, Christine and Dave bringing me stories, and like
they tried desperately to keep us on target.
Oh my God, it's
they
like
tried
amazing.
Desperately.
It's amazing, but like and we just had so much fun. I just remember the time going by so fast. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe it's already been like 5 hours. Like, this is crazy. So I just have so much respect for what you do and what you're going to continue to do. So I want to jump into something really quick called How Well Do You Know Your Own Show?
Can I just answer not well and be done with this game?
Okay. All right. Who were the only 2 guests to get kicked out of the studio?
Church of Scientology spokesman.
Yes.
That guy wouldn't let anyone talk. He wouldn't let us talk. He wouldn't let the callers talk. And we would say, listen, we'll give you a chance uninterrupted to say what you want to say, but let other people talk too. And he just kept talking. Like when we talk, he wouldn't stop talking. So we literally had to throw him out.
You just stopped the interview and you're like, you gotta get out of here.
And
dude.
I said, and he wouldn't leave. And I said, you need to go.
Yeah.
And we're on the air now. And I'm like, oh, this is awkward because now we're on the air and I'm trying to throw the guy out. And I was like, what do I do if he doesn't leave? Like literally, what's my plan?
Oh my God.
I said, do we need to call security? We didn't have security at the
No.
time.
Yeah.
That was a 100% bluff. And I was just like, please go. I don't have anyone to call. And Anna Nicole Smith?
Oh, no. I don't know. I didn't know about that, but
she ran out. She didn't just leave. Who was the other one?
Dustin Diamond.
Oh, yeah. Screech. He came in with a friend of his, and they had these little jokes together. And it was half of it was like little sounds and stuff that were making each other laugh. So we kicked his friend out, and we're like, dude, if you don't want to be here, it's fine. But if you do, then let's do an interview.
They're doing like inside jokes
Yes.
on the break. Okay.
And then he just kept doing it and like making sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Probably drugs, high on drugs.
It made no sense.
What bands have you been accused of breaking up?
I would like to straighten the record on this one for once.
Please. Here we go.
So Rage Against the Machine is my favorite band of all time.
Yeah. Yes.
And I knew, I have to be careful. I knew some of the management and some of the record company end of it. And I heard rumors that Zach was leaving the band. I was like, oh no, this is the worst. And after about a week, it was clear to me, like, no one's saying anything. This is happening, but no one knows it. So I said, on the air, I said, I have it on pretty good information that Zach's leaving Rage Against the Machine. And then it was announced that he was leaving Rage Against the Machine, and everybody was like, you broke him up. Like, no. But people don't know the original story, and then they just start jumping on the bandwagon of I broke up my favorite band of all time.
Oh my God. More hate letters.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that has gone on.
And apparently,
what other band? There's no other.
There was 3 listed. There was Rage, Blink, and Audio Slave. But I don't know. This was like I just did like a deep dive and research that I don't
think I get blamed for those other 2, do I, Christine?
I think you get blamed for a lot of things.
Oh,
yeah,
blamed for a lot of things.
That's accurate. Very accurate. Who came up with the Afro line name?
Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay, I don't even know what it means. maybe.
That was a different time.
Okay, got it. Check. What?
And we just wanted something that was memorable. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we'll just breeze through that one.
You don't mind.
What world record did Dave King of Mexico attempt to break twice?
Oh, I remember this because we failed to document it. So we wanted to get him watching television continuously. And we wanted to get him in the Guinness Book of World Records because it was 70 or 80 hours or something like that. So he does 100 hours. And 4 or 5 days is just out of his mind, tired, and doesn't know what he's doing. And Guinness is like, oh, you don't have the right paperwork. So he doesn't get anything for it.
Oh, my God.
So then we were like, oh, that's on us. That's our bad, Dave. So I don't know, like
Do it again.
3 years later, it came back up, and we talked him into doing it again. We were like, this time we understand you get a 5-minute break, you have to have continuous video, blah, 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 everything that they need. And we didn't get it right that time either. So he broke the record twice, over 100 hours, and got credit for none of it.
Sounds about right. That all sounds about right.
That's how we roll.
What was the name of the game show pilot you and Bean hosted?
Game show pilot?
Yeah, yeah.
Game show pilot?
Does Pure Insanity ring
yes!
a bell?
Again, we had no idea what we were doing. This is funny because they handed us a fake wad of cash, like as a prop. I don't even remember what it was. It was just like a challenge show or something like that, and they could win money. And they were like, "Oh yeah, here's some money. Hold it up, and it'll be impressive." And so the only thing I remember from that time is looking at Bean and going, "What am I supposed to do with the money now?" It was like a half hour in, and I'm just carrying a wad of fake cash around. I didn't know what to do. I was like, "Should we just put it down someplace, or what do you think?" He's like, "I don't know." That's our whole life. What do you think we should do? I don't know. Let's just try this.
Oh my God. So you guys made a pilot, but the show never got picked up.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. So we were supposed to shoot in Hawaii. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Date came. It was like a week out. We were like, it's odd. And then a couple of days before, Bean goes, "Hey, whatever happened to that?" And they had replaced us, and they were in Hawaii shooting it.
It's always nice.
It was the right decision. We had no idea. It was like, those guys can't even handle money. Let's move on to somebody who can.
Oh my God. Infamous valet incident. Do you feel like talking about this at all?
All right, listen. It might have been St. Patrick's Day. It might have been a live remote. I might have had a beverage, but early because I don't drive drunk. I bought a car the day before, a brand new car that was dark green. And so at the end of the show, I went out to the valet. The valet went, got the car, gave me the keys. I got in, drove off, and I realized there's a brush in here. These motherfuckers they're out joyriding in my car. And then I was like, holy crap, this isn't my car. And it was then that I realized that it was black and not dark green. I was like, I'm in someone else's car. So what do I do now? So I turned around and I went back, and it was morning rush hour, so Sunset Boulevard was jam-packed and stopped. So I put on my signal to turn in, and I was just waiting in someone else's car. I was like, I might just have to get out and run. I don't know, because they're not letting me turn. And I heard somebody yell from the bar, "That's my car!" And everybody came running. I was like, dude, I didn't know the valet gave it.
Oh my God, that would only happen to you. Only happen to you.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. You've got this thing about you. Trouble just likes to follow
I'm
you around.
a cartoon.
Yeah.
I have a cartoon life. I don't know what I did, but stuff like that happens to me all the time. And it's like, maybe if I paid more attention, maybe that's my issue. I don't know.
Makes for a great story, though. Makes for great
it's great.
radio.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Do you remember what band member fell asleep in studio during an or what band had a member fall asleep during an interview in studio?
I still remember this because Bean and I were poking each other going, he's sleeping. We're on the air. Shoot. It was a female-led band from Sweden.
Love me. Cardigans. Yeah.
Yes. And their guitarist was like this. For the whole interview. And we were like, dude, when we took a break, we were like, hey, you don't have to stay if you're tired or whatever. He's like, oh, no, I'm good. So then we went and asked Nina, is that her name? The lead singer. We went and asked her later that day. One of our guys went and asked her, was that the best interview you've ever had? And she goes, no.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's weird things like that you're never prepared for.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought you need to think of what to do when somebody puts their head down and falls asleep in the middle of the interview? You're like, all this stuff comes up, and you're just like, I don't know what to do now.
Oh, it's so good. Where does your autograph appear on a wall of fame?
I don't even remember. It was a Subway?
Jamba Juice.
Jamba Juice.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Jamba Juice. And I remember feeling so incredibly stupid. And it was really sweet. The people that were working there were really excited to see me. No one else had any idea who I was. And so I looked at the walls, like there's like legitimate stars up there, like, please sign this cup for us. And they were so sweet. I was like, of course, yes. And I was thinking, no, don't do this, because it's going to be like movie star, me. But I did it, and then the guys found out. Somebody took a picture, and it was like, oh, this is great. Look, Kevin thinks he's somebody. And I was like, oh.
It's so good. Apparently, you're right next to Belle Biv DeVoe, just so you know.
Oh, is that
right?
Where I belong.
So just, like, Jesus, doing a show for 30 years, that's insane to me.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. What do you just feel like you've learned from having to work on a team, like doing radio? I feel like that's challenging in itself.
It is. There's a lot of learning to deal with interpersonal relationships and stuff. And when you're making however many decisions we make in a day, 50 or whatever it is, you have to learn, like, okay, people are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. And we'll move on, because that's fine. You just have to sort of learn to give and take and stand up for what you really believe in. But if you don't really believe, don't make a big deal out of it. And it can be very difficult.
Did you have a hard time finding your voice on the radio?
Yes, because Bean is
Bean.
a natural.
Yeah, I know.
He's a natural,
Yeah.
like, he's the best DJ that I've ever heard.
Yeah, I agree.
So he's on it.
Best
And
interviewer, too.
Yes.
Jesus.
And in the early years, I would just shut up because I was scared. I didn't want to, I knew everybody was hating on us, and I didn't want to ruin the radio station. So he did most of the talking, and it took me a while to realize, the difference between him and I. The biggest difference is that he's funny and I'm fun. And those are two completely different things, because he doesn't like fun. And I love it. I thrive on it. Like, I like to say I'm the agent of chaos in the room. I try to sabotage whatever's happening just because I like that energy,
Yeah. Well,
But it did take a while for me to learn that.
Yeah, totally. It's taken me a while, too. I feel like I'm still trying to figure out who I am.
That's the thing, is people think you know.
Yeah.
And I've done it for 30 years, and still I don't really know.
And I'm scared,
guesses.
like, nowadays to even say how I feel, because I just feel like you're fucked one way or the other. If you have an opinion about this, and everybody's got an opinion. So I just feel like, I just want to stay out of all of it, But
Yeah.
then I'm not having a voice at all. So it's just like this weird
You have
thing.
to learn to use your voice and then back away from it. Just say, this is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what I know. And if you disagree with me, great. I mean, that took a long time. Like, my feelings would get hurt, and then I would be mad. And then, you go through all those steps where you're like, oh, you know what? I wasn't right the whole time. Who knew?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I guess it's just being like, it's just not being so hard on yourself. Just knowing you're a human, you're still learning, you're still growing.
But that was so difficult because of stepping into KROQ.
Right.
So it was like, oh, we're ruining this radio station. And so every day was really important. It was almost impossible to sort of block out. That pressure was just way too much.
So when would you say people really started getting it, and how did that make you feel?
Probably 1994, 95.
And how long had you been doing it?
Since 1990, the first day of
Okay,
1990.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a gradual thing. So people respond to one thing and then hate the next thing. So it's never like all one way or the other. So you never get a feeling, oh, now we have a voice.
Right.
It's like, that was great and that was terrible, and we do 17 things a day. And what are the chances all 17 are going to be great? And you just have to, like you say, cut yourself a little bit of a break and say, stuff's going to go wrong. It's okay.
Because some of my favorite parts of listening to you guys today are when you mess up.
Yeah, well, I know.
Like the moment with Kevin,
those are great.
Like it makes me laugh so hard. Like I love it. So
it's weird. Some of those really bug me, but most of them I can sort of laugh at like it's someone else.
yeah.
I hear it. I think it's funny. Whatever. I don't care. But like when the person's in the room and I screw up their name or something, it's like
yeah.
embarrassing.
Embarrassing. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But at least they don't put those on tape and then play them over and over and over and over and over.
When Bean decided that he was going to do his first move, How did that affect you, and how was it like getting used to him being on the ISDN line with a camera and not like learning how to listen, all of that?
Here's another thing that they don't teach you is Bean walked in and he goes, "I'm moving." So we were like, okay.
What?
This was 1999, I think. And he just couldn't, he's not a Los Angeles person, and he's fine with that.
Yeah.
And so he moved to Seattle, and then he moved to New Orleans, and he's been gone for a long time. But when he moved, they said, "Do you want to try to continue this?" Because we didn't even know of a team that was doing it remotely at all at that point. So how do you do that? I don't know. Well, should we just get a different person to replace him? I said, well, no, you can't really replace him. Let's try it. Let's just try and figure it out. So there's a phone line called an ISDN, and we worked it out, and we had to figure out there's a little bit of delay, and so we would have to learn, okay, let's go down a little bit on the quality, but the delay is less. So, and now literally I can hear him
Like as it's
when he's going to talk or something like that. I know exactly, just because I've done it for so long. But at first it was totally making it up again. It was like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to do. Let's try this. That's my whole career.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Let's try this. That's it.
Because it's amazing how seamless you guys are.
Oh,
it's
take it easy.
unbelievable. Well,
Not from the inside.
but I mean, I don't really I don't really ever hear you guys talking over each other ever. It's like
we do,
It's
but-
amazing.
Yeah.
But I guess, but that can even happen when you're in the studio. So
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it doesn't
does.
even matter.
Especially when there's now 2 or 3 people at the same time, and everybody's trying to find their spot. It can be frustrating.
What was one of the hardest things that you ever had to do on the radio? I know that you guys were on vacation, like on 9/11, so you didn't have to
Yes.
be there to deliver that news. But what was
Thank
like
God.
maybe one of the most difficult things? You know, I've had to go on the air so much over the last like 5 years and talk about people's deaths, and you know, it's awful.
There was some that where they would want a statement from me. I'm thinking specifically of Chester Bennington, who I just adored. And when that happened, they were like, "Oh, KTLA and these different places." They were just looking for anyone with a connection that would give them a soundbite. And I was just in my house, and I called my program director and I said, "I'm not going to do any of this. I don't want to be a soundbite. I don't feel good right now. It feels terrible." He was such a genuinely sweet person, and it affected me so deeply that I don't want to have someone else speak. I don't care. Well, who's going to do it? It doesn't matter to me, just not me. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
So that stuff comes up,
seriously.
and it is really difficult.
It is. It's hard, and it's hard to like have to keep sort of talking about it. I remember the day that happened. Our music director at the time, Lisa, called me sobbing, and I hadn't looked at the news. Like I had no idea, and she's
Hey,
bawling.
Megan's just like me.
I'm pretty bad.
No
dude.
idea what's going on?
Yeah, pretty much. And you know, and she's sobbing. She's like, "You have to come in. Like we're bringing everybody on the radio today." And I
But
was
that's
like,
not what you feel like at all.
No, I just like I did not want to talk about it. But you know, I mean, the one cool thing about it was getting to sort of talk to the callers and you know, but it was also just it's heavy because like
Yeah, it's
you're like a
completely-
therapist. It's
yeah.
like people just are unloading their stuff on you, and it's
And
a
in
lot.
a world where you and or I are a therapist, we have problems. That is not good. They're looking to us for answers.
Oh my God. So obviously, as we know, Bean is leaving on the 7th. But what can you tell us about the future?
The future
Of the
is
show.
we have an amazing group of people that we're going to move on, and it's going to
so
continue.
agree with that.
It's going to continue just without Bean.
Yeah.
And what's that going to sound like? I don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll try it. It's another thing where we come in January and we'll try it. We'll just see how it goes and what works and what doesn't work, and sort of, you know, he's a huge part of the show. So you do sort of have to reinvent things, and people are already responding as if we know what we're going to do. And I just go, no, you know what? I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I can't come up with an answer now, but we'll try it then and see how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been on vacation before, so it's not like... Yeah.
It's going to be fine. I mean, like, you guys, there's, like, such a strong team. I can't say enough good things about Allie McKay and Jensen.
Agreed.
And, you know, like, just the fun of Beer Mug and Dave and Christine. Like, it's a great... And Omar, oh, my God, he makes, like, the funniest...
Yeah.
He just makes the funniest content ever. So the team is in place. Everything, you know... Everything's going to be great. Like,
we
I'm
have
excited
had
about
a long rehearsal.
Yeah, you kind of have. A little bit.
You know, he'd been talking about it for about 5 to 10 years off the air. Like, oh, you know, we want to move to London, and that's where I was born. And we sort of felt him getting a little bit more unhappy. So it was like, well, okay, good. If that's, you know, if that makes you happy, that's great.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a huge loss. We're going to have to change things up and figure it out. But also, you want him to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll, you know, create a little bit more space for other people to shine too. So,
and we have those people. That's what makes me happy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm excited. So you're getting inducted into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame in November, right?
Was that a question?
Well, it
ended on an up note.
Is
like,
it November?
It's November.
It's November. Okay. What does that mean to you? Are you even attending the ceremony? I feel like you wouldn't go. I feel like you and Bean aren't even going to go.
Here's the thing about that. I don't want to be an ass.
Yeah.
Because it's a big honor.
I know.
But it's just another one of those things where I go, you know what? I shouldn't be there. I know me, and I know what I've done, and I know what I'm good at and not good at, and I shouldn't be in a Hall of Fame anywhere.
Disagree.
All right, well, but I do believe Bean deserves it, and he needs to be there. And I sort of feel like I'm sort of going along for the ride, but that guy deserves to be standing on that stage.
Oh, that's really sweet. Oh,
I
my
believe
gosh.
That.
Yeah.
And I feel like, when are they going to come in and drag me out as the imposter that I am? It's difficult to get your head around that stuff.
Yeah, well, I just want to congratulate you because it's such a freaking big deal.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's sort of hard for me to get my head around it. So I just kind of deflect when people ask because I shouldn't be there. You know what I mean?
But you deserve it. Like, you need to know that you've had a profound impact on people. You know, you've been there with people through the last 30 years of their, you know, I got married listening to Kevin and Bean. I had kids listening to, you know, like, I've been listening to you since I was little, like, whatever it is.
Listen, I'm old. I get it. I'm super old. If that's what you're getting at.
You know what I mean? So it's just like you've been an active part of people's lives. And since you're physically here, you are the experience of, you know, going to Las Vegas with pool parties and you know, going to the casino and but like, so you're like the face-to-face person that, like, the face-to-face friend that we all get to have, you know?
Yeah, it's odd though, feeling that much appreciation coming back. Like, for us, first of all, it's impossible to get your head around 30 years. It's just, we have a show tomorrow and I know what I need to have for tomorrow's show. And then after tomorrow's show, we have a show Tuesday. And then I need to know and so you don't ever really pull back and say, it's been 30 years, how have we done this? I don't know. Just by figuring it out one day at a time. And it sounds so cliche, but it's true. I don't know, it feels wrong for me. Feels right for Bean, so I'll celebrate him.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had a favorite breakfast with? We are doing the final one with Green Day. The final one with Green Day will be airing tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have a most memorable or most chaotic or favorite or?
I have a lot of favorites. It's impossible with all of the ones that we've done, it's impossible to nail it down. I mean, Foo Fighters, I love Dave Grohl with all my heart. I remember the day when Nirvana was no more, and I heard, the drummer is going to start a band, and he's going to sing and play guitar. I was like, oh, no. This is bad. I've seen this before. This is not good. One of the most talented, genuinely nice, great people ever. And My Chemical Romance and the CBS, record company in their basement. I don't know. There's been so much. We did one with U2, Red Hot Chili
Sting.
Peppers, Sting.
Yeah.
You talked to the drummer from Nine Inch Nails. We had Trent Reznor got up early in the morning and did a breakfast with us. We were so scared. Okay, we worship this guy, but we know that he doesn't love doing interviews. But we worship him, so yes, but don't screw it up because you don't want him to be, I don't know, it was very overwhelming.
Oh, yeah. There's been some amazing ones. Can you talk about the time you lit a field on fire?
We were in high school, probably freshmen in high school, and it was the science fair, and we walked a mile home each day and walked a mile to school. And so for some reason at the science fair, we had a blowtorch and matches. And so it's me and my two brothers, and we're walking home from school, and we think it's great if we light a match in the field and then drop it. And then, this sounds terrible, knowing what the kind of damage that goes on in Southern California with these fires, but then I was an idiot. And so we would stomp out the fire and then, just go about our way and do another match and stomp on it. And we got to the light, literally no idea. And sirens everywhere. We're like, what's going on? And we turned around like, holy it was like a full acre was on fire. It was an empty field, but it was completely on fire. And we took off. I said, Bruce, let's go. It's my younger brother. We took off. We were holding a
Oh my God. You literally have the evidence.
And the fire chief was sitting right there at the light. He's like, what the? So he pulls over and he gets us in and he takes us back to school. My mom comes and picks us up and, maybe it was even grade school. I don't think we were that old. But my mom was not thrilled. And to this day, we don't know which one of us said it, but we blame it on whoever's not in the room at the time.
Right, yep. That checks out.
That's how it works.
That checks out.
With your siblings, you just go, who's not here? Bruce, he did it. Okay, good.
Can you talk about Grammy seat crashing?
Oh. Well, here's the thing. They use seat fillers. I didn't know this. But they use seat fillers, which are people that just stand off to the side. There's a whole group of them. And when a band gets up at the Grammys or whatever, they come in and they sit down so it doesn't look empty. But they all have a little pin or something that identifies them as a seat filler. And what I learned is they are taught that if somebody says that's their seat, they get up and they get out as fast as they don't question it at all.
Yeah.
So at that point, I started realizing that. So I would see seat fillers, and I would just say, that's my seat. And they would get up.
Oh, my God. That is genius.
Is it genius? I don't know.
It's genius.
Okay.
Oh, I love that. I want to go to the Grammys with you. Oh, my God.
And then I got caught with a laser pointer at the Grammys. This is... Hootie and the Blowfish were...
Hootie and the Blowfish?
Yes, we're performing on the Grammys. I don't know why that rubbed me the wrong way. I'm an ass. So I took a little laser pointer, and while he's performing, you could see the laser jump around on his guitar.
Oh, my God.
And his manager was standing on the stage, and they were trying to figure out what it was. And so he was looking right where it was coming from, and I didn't know this. The lights come on, they take a break. I think, that worked out well. And so then I'm going to go down and get rid of some seat fillers. I'm going to sit up front. And I went walking down up the aisle, and the manager goes, that's him. I was like, oh my God. Now I'm at the Grammys surrounded by security. Like, what? I'm going to fight him off? And they take me out to the lobby, and they say, what's this? The laser pointer. I'm like, it's a pen. And he goes, show me that it writes. I was like, I don't know if it writes or not. It's a pen. And I gave him all false information and then told the story on the air on Monday. The police kicked me out. And then we told the story on Monday, and the record company heard, and after Monday's show, I had to go into the boss's office, and I had to apologize to Hootie.
Oh, my.
It was his record company, him, me, and our program director. And I had to say, I'm really sorry that, by the way, they were telling me that they were telling me that he was afraid for his life. But this is way, way, way before that's a thing.
Right,
like
right.
now it's really very much a thing. Then it really wasn't.
Totally.
So to me it was like, please, don't be ridiculous. So then I was really angry, but also I had to come across as genuine. So I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it.
Oh my
And then they hired us to be the announcers for a couple of years. Go figure.
Funny how life works out.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. Can you talk about coming back from the World Cup with the U.S. soccer team?
Yeah, this is another thing where my life is cartoonish. So we got to go down to Brazil, me and 3 friends. Brad Williams is one of them, and his brother-in-law, Kevin, who's Mr. Bad Idea or something like that. He's a more extreme version of me, so not a good mixture. And this other guy named John, and they were both great, planners. And we went to each city. We followed the U.S. team around, and it was so fun. And it was being in Brazil, and on the day of our flight, we had this deal, like, if somebody doesn't make it, the group keeps moving. We had to have that conversation ahead of time. Like, just so you know, man, if somebody gets sick or whatever, that's a different thing. But if they're late or they're going to miss their flight, everybody else goes. That's the rule. So I overslept my phone on the flight for the flight back, and my phone was dead. And when I woke up, it was time. My flight was leaving right then, and Kevin was holding the doors of the plane open, waiting for me.
God.
And I was like, please, God, get on that plane. Please don't let me make you be late like I am. I missed the flight. But he went on it, and they all came home. And so I sat in the airport in Brazil for 12 hours till the next flight. And this is a weird story of how cartoonishly lucky I get sometimes. So I'm sitting there on my phone doing stuff, and I see these huge tennis shoes. And I looked up, and it was Tim Howard, and it was like the whole U.S. men's soccer team was coming in, sitting with me. I was like, what is happening? And so they were all on the same flight that I was on. So Omar Gonzalez was there as well, who played for the Galaxy for a while. And I was sitting by him on the flight home. And when we got to LAX, they said, hey, this is the captain speaking. There are a number of players from the World Cup men's team for the U.S. Let's hear it for him. And everybody started clapping, and they were like patting me on the back like I was one of them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I was like accepting their thanks and everything, and I just heard Omar Gonzalez behind me go, Jesus Christ. And I turned around, I laughed, I was like, look, man, I'm not going to deny it. If they're going to give me credit, for being on the team, I'll take it.
Oh my God. And you're such a fan of soccer,
Oh,
so it was like perfect.
That was a dream.
Oh my God.
That was a dream.
What brings you the most joy in your life?
My kids.
Aww. Has it been tough, with the schedule that you work and just being a public figure? Has it been kind of hard?
Yeah, I sort of have kept them out of it for the most part, just because of that. Are they embarrassed of me? Many times, yes. But like when they were younger, we just said, don't listen, don't worry what I do, just it's a business and you want whatever. And then they started, when they got smarter than me when they were like 4, then they realized, our dad we can hear him if we turn on the radio. And then it became so much harder to be a dad because now I'm publicly being an ass.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to tell them what to do. But by far, my kids.
Yeah.
By far.
That's sweet. Okay, how about some fan questions, some audience questions? How about that? No name. If you had to pick a different job, what would it be?
U.S. men's soccer team.
Okay, this is from Anna R. What have been your top 3 favorite interviews?
Dave, it's hard to say because we've
Yeah.
had so many, but Dave Grohl is so awesome. And then there are other people who come in like Johnny Cash came in.
Oh my
with it,
God, are you
right?
kidding?
Yes.
I would die.
Yes.
I would die.
And honestly, I don't have the appreciation for him that I should. And so now I'm thinking, oh no, like shouldn't be in this room with him. And he came walking in and he was just the sweetest, most polite guy. And I just tried to stay out of the way and not, because Bean's a huge fan of his and was asking questions. I was like, good, let's just leave me out of this. Well, there were situations like that where it's like the person is really intimidating and you forget you're on the radio for a minute and you just go, I don't I don't know what to do
Yeah.
with myself.
Yeah, where do I put my hands?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh my God, Johnny Cash. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
it was crazy.
What's your favorite thing that you like about Bean?
My favorite thing about Bean, I mean, he is the hardest working person in the world. And he sort of taught me how hard you have to work at this job. I didn't realize it at first, but he taught me that. And he is such a professional. Like, I would always know if I screwed up, Bean's there, he's got me. And I think I took that for granted for a while until later I realized, oh, you know what? That's kind of bad of me because he's been there and I've been leaning on him and sort of not carrying my weight some of the time. So I sort of learned, oh, okay, he's solid. He's always there. He's got my back no matter what happens. And I appreciate that about him.
Yeah, wow.
It's sort of weird to be in that situation with someone else because he's the only person I can talk to about it. Mm-hmm. In the early days, like no one outside of the station would ever talk to us. And we would just talk to each other and go, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. But he always would step up and was really great. That's why I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but that's why he belongs at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I'll just be window dressing.
Ornament.
This
is from Sergio. Was there a single moment in the last 30 years that reminded you of how much you love doing what you do?
A single moment. Wow, that's impossible to
Right?
say. It could, like I said, we do 17 things. We schedule it out the day before. It rarely goes like we planned. And so there's so many decisions on a day-to-day basis. You could bring up, like, I couldn't remember the Cardigans. I didn't, till you said who we threw out, I didn't remember that story.
Yeah.
So there's so many of those moments but it's both all the time. I'm super grateful and we're having a great time. And God, that sucked. And I hated it. Oh, okay, now I'm having a great time.
It's like you don't have time to dwell.
Yeah, it's on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I actually have had to learn to say to myself, and I've said these words out loud to myself, it's okay. People haven't woken up yet. There's still like a lot of people that haven't woken up yet, and they don't know what just happened, so just move on as if it's all good.
Yeah.
You sort of have to learn to do that. So the answer to that question is every day there's something that makes me thrilled and something that makes me angry. You know, it's every day.
Yeah, just being in the moment. What are the best pieces of advice you can give to someone for a lasting career?
Wow. Ask someone else. I just think you just have to throw yourself into it wholeheartedly and commit. You just have to say, look, this might be a big failure. And still, we do this every day. This might be a big failure, but I would hate to think that I was afraid to take that step. So take it and be fine with failing. That's the most important thing is you're going to fail. And it's okay. Just learn that that's part of it and you can move on. And I'm really critical of myself, but you just have to go, all right, at the end of the day, it's a really great job and I get a lot of perks and stop being such a baby. And you sort of just talk yourself out of it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've literally announced the wrong band name on stage. So, like
it's that kind of thing where they go, want to get away?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, things happen. You just keep moving forward. Name Walt. What was the secret location of the bathroom stall interviews?
These, Jimmy Kimmel and I discovered, I'm not sure that's the right word, that guys do not talk in the restroom. They could be your best friend. Go to the men's room, not a word. Not a single word. So we said, wouldn't it be funny to sit in the stall next to them? And so we went to a mall in Burbank. Oh my God. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a mall, and it was right by the food court. And Jimmy and I would sit there, and we would write the most insulting / weirdo type questions. And then I would sit in the middle stall and wait for hours. Hours. And Jimmy was like fake washing his hands, like he was going to be my security or something if something went wrong.
Oh my God.
And like he's probably like his skin's coming off. He's been washing his hands for 3 hours. But we would say, I would just start everyone with, hey, how's it going? Because no one wants to talk. What's your name? And I would get some people to play along. One guy I was really not happy with playing along. Is I thought it would be funny to say low five and reach under the store. And I was like, oh my God. I didn't think that was going to happen at all. But the one that really like almost hurt me was this old guy, and it was just before Thanksgiving, and literally we had a conversation from stall to stall without looking at each other. And at the end of it, he was inviting me to his house for Thanksgiving.
Oh my God.
And I thought, I am an asshole. He was so sweet. But then, thank God that got outlawed because of the laws, so I can no longer do it. But it was torturous sitting in the bathroom.
Oh my God, yeah.
And trying to talk to people, most of whom don't answer.
Oh my God.
And going, do we have enough? Nope, we got to wait for another hour.
Oh my God. That is the funniest thing ever.
And you start like, that's sort of how, like Jimmy was teaching me, like say things that are super uncomfortable like really sort of poke the bear a little bit and learn how to do that. And we both would sit there and eat lunch at the food court and then laugh and write out these jokes. And then I would just go in and he'd.
God, I wonder if you'd still be able to get away with doing that today.
Oh, no.
You know?
Oh, you mean Jimmy or me? Neither of us.
Yeah, neither.
Certainly not Jimmy.
Oh my God. Well, I just adore you, Kevin Ryder.
I adore you as well.
You've always been super duper supportive of me. Like I told you before, like, you know, trusting me enough to bring me on to let me fill in for Allie, like true privilege and honor. And
when I met you, I was like, hey, this is one of my people.
Yeah.
But you just like, and it doesn't matter, like, if I don't see you for 6 months, when I see you again, it's just like, hey, there's my great friend.
Yeah, totally. I remember the first time I met you was when you and Bean, you were actually syndicated for a second up at Live 105.
And they were having their summer show?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you guys came up. And, you know, I mean, I can imagine how weird that would be.
It was super
to
weird.
be like in a different market, like walking around.
No
one knows you.
Cared.
Nope. Yeah, exactly. But I was so fucking excited. I was like, Kevin and Bean are here! Because I'm from Southern California, you know? And you guys were so nice. And I was like so excited. I got a photo with you. And I remember, you know, but it was like, it's just weird. Like the foreshadowing of events and all the different people that I've met along my way to like making it. Now being at KROQ, it's like, it's so wild. And
it is a crazy, crazy ride.
Yeah, and I'm just happy that I get to work, you know, at KROQ at the same time that you're there. And
same.
Yeah, so I just want to thank you so much for coming and doing this.
Of course.
You're
of
the
course. I would
absolute
do anything
best.
for you.
Oh, thank you. All right, you guys.
Oh, not anything.
Some things. And I want to thank all you for coming out and supporting me. And just, you know, you guys are seriously the best. I really love you so much. So yeah, thank you for being here.